Many people are unfulfilled and trying to get unstuck in their life or career. Often they can't pinpoint why they feel the way they do. They just know they aren't happy, and they may have no idea how to make themselves happy. Our work together is focused on helping them figure out their passion, and their purpose in life, not just in their career, which leads them to more clarity and direction, to take specific action steps and to have a greater sense of control over their life and their career. If you are currently feeling stuck or lacking direction in your career or in your life, here are 5 life planning steps you can take. Clarify your values. Values are what's most important to you right now. And while values do not change in the short term, they do change throughout your life as you enter and exit various life stages. It's good practice to regularly review your values to ensure you are aligned to what's most important to you. I remember a time early in my corporate career, when career progression was important to me and I worked long hours, took night classes and did what I believed was necessary to get promoted. As I moved into motherhood, I found kids and family were more important to me, and while my career was still important, I did forego career moves that would have meant relocating my family. Later, I left my corporate role in favor of running my own business to create more freedom and flexibility. If you are finding yourself at odds in your career or in your life, it may be that your values have shifted and you haven't yet aligned your life to support what's most important to you right now, in this stage of your life. Identify your passion and purpose. What do you most enjoy doing? Are you doing it? Many people believe their passion should be their career. But there are many ways to fulfill your passion even if it's not your main career. I know an artist who is accumulating some amazing pieces of art he sculpts hoping to exhibit them one day. Art is his passion, and yet he earns his living as a teacher. He finds many ways to integrate his passion into his work. For example, he volunteers for set design for school productions. He teaches art during the summer months at a local art studio, and he sculpts in his spare time. If you are one of the lucky ones where you are passionate about the work you do in your career, congratulations. And if you are not, there are still many ways to feed and nurture your passion. Define your goals. Do you have a clear set of goals for this year? And for the next 3 to 5 years and beyond? Life is a marathon, not a sprint, and your life plan should reflect that. A methodical, disciplined approach to realizing your dreams and goals. What do you aspire to be, to have? Even if the goal seems too big or too unattainable, think about and plan for how you can move forward in the direction of what you most desire. Taking regular, baby steps will get you the results you desire eventually. Also, make sure you look at all areas of your life, not just your career. Consider money and finance, relationships, personal and professional development, health and wellness, spirituality, family, fun and recreation, and physical environment. Organize your finances. Do you have a financial plan? Many years as a banker taught me that some goals need to be planned for financially to be achieved. Generally, people don't adequately plan for their future and then live a life of many regrets. You may have a goal to retire at 65 or start a business at some point, but unless you have planned for it financially, it may not be attainable. I worked with a client who desired to leave his corporate job and start a business. Through our coaching work, he determined the amount of money he needed to cover his expenses until his business broke even. He continued with his corporate job long enough to amass the money he would need. While it was not easy to save, be disciplined and continue with his job, it set him up for success and took a lot of pressure off his finances in the early stages of his business. Make sure you have adequately planned for emergencies, set aside monies to realize your goals and plan for your future, including your retirement. A good financial plan is an important component of your overall life plan. Create your career plan, no matter where you are on your career path currently. At the start of your career or perhaps nearing the end and thinking about retirement, you need a career plan. A good career plan will include a review of your values, interests, passions, strengths, skills and experience, as well as your career goals, options, and opportunities. A good plan will identify and address education/experience gaps, personal and professional development needs, as well as available support and mentorship. Having a well thought out plan provides you with focus, direction, and the confidence to take action. The better prepared you are for the future, the easier it will be for you to slide into your next career move. If you wish to live a life of fulfillment and abundance and no regrets, it will take some personal reflection and planning. If you don't have the motivation or know how to do it on your own, seek the assistance of a professional, whether it's a financial advisor to assist you with a financial plan or a professional coach to assist you with your life and career plan. Take the first step and get on track to realize your dreams and goals. Senator Warren plans to stifle the influence of big businesses and several CEOs. The senator is not a fan of Wall Street or corporations, especially large firms and their CEOs. Many folks agree with her. They see several CEOs collect massive bonuses even as their decisions hurt consumers and other stakeholders. To fix these problems, Senator Warren introduced bills in the Senate to establish a wealth tax on individuals, to enhance accountability for CEOs, and to set the framework to break up large tech companies. While the status quo is unacceptable, the senator's proposals do not deal with central issues. Thus, if these bills pass as is, they will discourage innovation and creativity and dampen economic development. Before discussing these proposals, let's look at the senator's background. Senator Elizabeth Warren was a law professor for more than 30 years, including nearly 20 years as the Leo Gottlieb Professor of Law at Harvard Law School. She was President Obama's advisor and a principal architect of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Following the Great Recession in 2008, she chaired the Congressional Oversight Panel of the Troubled Asset Relief Program, TARP. The senator has been an outspoken critic of business, and a strong consumer advocate. To be sure, we must protect consumers from abusive companies, but Senator Warren's proposals won't fix the targeted problems and might hinder economic growth. Senator Warren's wealth tax. Senator Warren, who does not identify as a socialist, proposes a 2% wealth tax on Americans with assets above $50 million, rising to 3% on assets more than $1 billion. No doubt, inequality is an issue, however, we do not fix the underlying causes by taxing the wealthy. First, we must identify the systemic problems. Specifically, we should learn why there isn't an acceptable sustained rise in lower income levels. In Warren's proposal, we narrow the income gap by taking from the wealthy, and later redistributing the amount seized to lower rungs. How does this approach solve the endemic problem? It doesn't. Among other things, it ignores incentives to create jobs and wealth. Taxing the wealthy doesn't fix the problem. Admittedly, it will increase tax revenues, but governments will create more programs, hire more people, and become even more creative with wasteful spending. Then again, Warren and her husband earned $905,000 in 2018. Which puts them in the top 1% of wage earners. Should they redistribute some of their incomes? Certainly not. But Senator Warren's rhetoric might lead some folks to think she should because her income is enormous. Warren and her fellow Democrats, wittingly or unwittingly, promote identity politics, exacerbate class warfare, victimhood, and entitlement. Senator Warren and CEOs' accountability. It's vital Americans and Canadians identify the causes of income inequality and fix them. But whatever solutions we develop, they must stress wealth creation by all in society, not wealth redistribution. Without a doubt, redistributing wealth from the top will discourage wealth and job creation. The message that the senator is sending to people aspiring to be the next Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, or Jeff Bezos is simple: though you might work hard to develop businesses that create millions of jobs, expand the economy, and you plan to donate most of your wealth to charity, the government prefers to redistribute your wealth. Is this what we want to communicate to the next generation of entrepreneurs? One of the bills Senator Warren introduced is the Corporate Executive Accountability Act, which holds executives of large corporations criminally responsible when their companies commit crimes, harm large numbers of Americans through civil violations, or repeatedly violate federal law. As well, Senator Warren reintroduced the Ending Too Big to Jail Act, a comprehensive bill to hold big bank executives accountable when the banks they lead break the law. In introducing these bills, Warren said, "Corporations don't make decisions, people do, but for far too long, CEOs of giant corporations that break the law have been able to walk away, while consumers who are harmed are left picking up the pieces. These two bills would force executives to responsibly manage their companies, knowing that if they cheat their customers or crash the economy, they could go to jail." CEOs can be harmful to their companies. I agree with Elizabeth Warren that too many CEOs cause harm to consumers and shareholders and walk away from their firms with substantial financial benefits. We must hold delinquent CEOs who break the law accountable. However, we must be careful we do not punish CEOs for well-intentioned, bad corporate decisions. That's the role of the board of directors and shareholders. Still, I realize the interconnectedness of corporate board memberships will allow some CEOs with poor performance records to survive. Paul Carroll and Chunka Mui in their book $1 Billion Lessons said, "We define failure as writing off major investments, shuttering unprofitable lines of business, or filing for bankruptcy. The extent of failures was stunning. Over 25 years, since 1981 to 2006, 423 U.S. companies with assets of more than $500 million filed for bankruptcy. Their combined assets at the time of their bankruptcy filing was $1.5 trillion, yes, that's trillion with a T. Over those 25 years, 258 publicly traded U.S. companies combined for $280 billion in write-offs." Carroll, Paul, and Chunka Mui, $1 Billion Lessons, What You Can Learn from the Most Inexcusable Business Failures of the Last 25 Years, Penguin, 2010, pages 279 to 291. Carroll and Mui found that the problem was not negligence or poor execution. It was poor strategy. Should a CEO go to jail for a poor strategy? For incompetence? Some negligent acts flow from incompetence. As written, the bills won't prevent poor strategy development. Instead, it might discourage competent, well-intentioned CEOs from taking needed, measured risks, which are essential in running businesses. Existing laws will take care of dishonest CEOs and send them to jail. Nevertheless, it is crucial Democrats and Republicans find a bipartisan way to agree on a bill that addresses the fundamental issues Warren's bills are trying to solve. Senator Warren wants to break up large tech companies. Here again, the senator has misdiagnosed the problem and provided a naive, counterproductive solution. No doubt, Facebook abused individuals' data, but breaking up Facebook would not address the privacy issue. For instance, a $10 billion Facebook, Warren's breakup threshold is $25 billion, company could easily misuse personal data. Size isn't the issue. We need consumer vigilance, corporate transparency, and simple, pragmatic government oversight. I agree with the senator when she says, "I want a government that makes sure everybody, even the biggest and most powerful companies in America, plays by the rules. And I want to make sure that the next generation of great American tech companies can flourish." The challenge is to find the appropriate, non-bureaucratic, minimum regulations solutions. Every company should play by the rules. Conclusion. Only one CEO went to jail following the Great Recession. Should others have gone because of their poor stewardship and ill-advised decisions? CEOs of several companies abuse people's private information and waste shareholders' funds. This must stop. However, we delude ourselves if we believe the size of large tech companies that Warren is targeting is the problem. Indeed, because of the visibility of these large tech companies, we are better off today with them as is, than if we divided them into smaller firms. The government must level the playing field, enforce sensible regulations, but not succumb to temptations to overregulate companies. Facebook is trying to entice the government to regulate the industry, which effectively would help to create a more substantial entry barrier than today. Regulation as Facebook is requesting will assure Facebook's near monopoly. Instead, the government should require Facebook and similar companies to be transparent about how they collect, use, and share private information, among other things. Meaningful meetings are possible, desirable, and should be the aim of every executive. Many people say meaningful meetings is an oxymoron, and they have a point. Research shows consistently that most meetings waste time and cost significant sums. Some studies show over 75% of meetings waste time. Get a clue. A corporate coaching and training consulting firm found that professionals lose 31 hours monthly to unproductive meetings. Besides, they show that of the 11 million meetings held in the USA daily, half are wasteful meetings. Curtailing wasteful meetings boost personal effectiveness and morale and improve company-wide productivity. I estimate that at least half of the hundreds of meetings I attended at work, church, and elsewhere, were unnecessary. We could have achieved better results without a meeting while not impeding relationships. We must strive to hold meaningful meetings and stop the meaningless meetings epidemic. Always err in the direction of not holding a meeting. Still, as I show below, sometimes we need to meet. Meanwhile, here are 6 elements needed to hold meaningful meetings. Although they are not exhaustive, when followed, the chances of positive outcomes will improve significantly. Meaningful meetings ingredients. These few basics will create the foundation for attendees to be effective at the meeting and following, and will aid the productivity of the group. Convener. Purpose. Agenda. Targeted invitees. Start and end times and meeting etiquette. Air traffic controller. Convener. Conveners have a responsibility for making meetings meaningful to produce specific results graciously and compassionately. Conveners or their delegates arrange the meetings, including developing the purpose, agenda, and expected outcomes, with relevant persons. They ensure the right people record highlights and take needed actions, but they do not perform these activities themselves, they merely ensure others do them. The convener needs someone to assist her to look at the process during the meeting. Without concern for the process, a few people will dominate, and discussions go off topic. It is crucial folks understand that the process determines the outcome. Purpose. Not all meetings have the same purpose. However, each meaningful meeting must have a purpose. There are at least 3 meeting categories: information sharing, accountability and/or reporting, and problem solving. Why would anyone call a meeting without an explicit purpose? Often, a meeting is the ideal way for some folks to procrastinate, defer a tough decision. Then again, the convener, and maybe a few other folks, know the purpose, but do not articulate it to others in advance because that's the way things happen in that firm. Poor communications is the norm. Sometimes people call meetings out of habit. They hold weekly and other meetings because that's been happening for years. And nobody asks, why? I recall being invited to be an elder at a church. The pastor said they had weekly elders meeting, and I asked why. My response shocked him. Why wouldn't I know? Still, I said, why do we need to meet weekly? The answer, that's what we have always done. I declined the invitation. Meaningful meetings in Japan. I saw 2 differences between business meetings there and in the West. First, most of those meetings were meaningful, but long, unlike here where meetings are meaningless and long. Second, often in Asia, they tell you the purpose before problem-solving meetings. Then, they invite folks who plan to present at the meeting. Here in the West, many people come to meetings unprepared, but ready to give their views. Third, the group paid attention when each person spoke, likely because of respect for elders and hierarchy. Participants listened to each other and built on each other's contributions. In the West, when one person speaks, others don't listen but plan his and her statement, which might be unrelated to what was just said. In the West, sometimes you don't know the aim of the meeting until after it starts. Many times the invitation does not mention the nature of the meeting. Then again, in the meeting, we compete for airtime. People don't listen to another person's view with an open mind. Instead, we interrupt one another in mid-sentence to add our views, even when it does not build on the speaker's point. In Japan, we defined and agreed the purpose of the meeting at the outset. Then we focus on solving the problem. Each person did not compete for airtime. However, I found this system weak in information sharing and accountability meetings. For instance, I was on the board of 2 Japanese public firms and the dearth of data given to shareholders and the brevity of shareholders' meetings amazed me. Meaningful meetings have agendas. The ideal vehicle to define the meeting's purpose is a carefully crafted agenda, with a starting and ending time. It should be comprehensive and indicate clearly items for discussion, ideally, with a starting and ending time for each agenda item. Besides, it should show a person or persons responsible for each item and the expected meeting outcome. Often we spend time on the first few items, especially if they are non-controversial, and rush the remaining, irrespective of their importance. Targeted invitees. Folks who attend meetings need a reason to attend. If the session is to share data or receive reports from others, only those folks relevant to those matters should attend. When the session is to solve problems, the size and invitees will vary based on the issue. These sessions need careful planning and a skillful convener to make sure each person explains his view without interruption. Folks must listen, hear, and consider what the speaker says before giving their ideas. It is crucial that folks know others' views before debating and dismissing them. Here are procedural matters to help us stay focused during a problem-solving session. Explain fully specific proposals before debating them. Differentiate clarification discussions from challenges to substance. Finish one proposal before moving to another. Convener should encourage out-of-the-box approaches that challenge the status quo, never suppress discussions until each person understands the issue. Unusual proposals may be the basis for the solution, don't restrain them just because they are unfamiliar. No one should monopolize discussions. Convener should be sensitive to different personalities. Some folks will need encouragement to present their views. Meeting should agree action items, someone should record key developments and specific follow-up activity for each proposal including the following. Who, responsibility for specific action. What, nature of action. When, timing of next feedback. Cost, source of resources necessary until next feedback. Although many of the above items apply to all meetings, they are particularly essential during a problem-solving meeting. Start and end times and meeting etiquette. When the convener or other person call the meeting, the invitation should show the start and end times, and time and responsibility for each agenda item. The meeting should not last longer than 45 minutes to an hour and should stick to the allotted times. Do not allow late attendees. Advise all invitees that the meeting will start at the appointed time, so each person needs to be there a few minutes before to ensure an on-time start and stick to the allotted times. The most offensive thing I see happening in meetings and events is when the convener says she will wait on more people to arrive. That's an affront to those who arrived on time and merely encourages a sloppy, lateness culture. Meaningful meetings mean proper timekeeping and the following meeting etiquette. No latecomers allowed. No talking on cell phones or side discussions in the room. If someone leaves the room to take a call or to talk with a colleague in the corridor, she is not allowed to return. No extraneous discussions, time spent must focus on agenda items under discussion. Meeting will end on time and each topic will get its planned time. No interruptions, each person must finish his thoughts and no one must interrupt. Further, the next comment must refer to the most recent statement unless the convener decides to move to a different topic. Each person present is valuable and her views are welcomed and encouraged. Nobody will be allowed to monopolize the discussions. In my ongoing meetings, my classes, I insist that my students be in the classroom 5 minutes before the start time. Students who can't be on time can enter during a break period, but not while the class is in session. My students get it and are on time 99.99% of the time. Meaningful meetings need an air traffic controller. One person trying to take over discussions is the most difficult but crucial to prevent. Often the convener or chair does not focus on the process, so people get off topic. A few folks control discussions, and the meeting ends without attaining its aim. It's vital the convener picks someone to help to ensure fair airtime for those with needed knowledge. An air traffic controller or process consultant is the person to do this. Process consultant. When the focus is only on the result, shy folks and others who do not want to vie for airtime won't speak. Others will talk, but will offer little. A process consultant who sits beside the convener to focus on the process and informs the convener, with no distraction, about deviant process issues is vital for a meaningful meeting. While the convener deals with the outcome, the consultant looks at the process to ensure ample airtime for folks needing to contribute. The consultant will look at body language, nonverbals, folks talking too much, people trying to speak but unable, and so on. The consultant's role is tough because that he or she is not part of the discussions, but is he or she trusts to promote, through the convener, maximum sharing in the group. A well-versed consultant will watch the flow of discussions and ensure folks who would be reluctant to speak, but who wish to speak, offers his and her views on central issues. My experience is that these reserved folks have the most notable positive impact on the meeting's outcome. When do we need to meet? Today, we have many different ways to meet electronically. We must be careful we do not meet because it is convenient, and we don't have to leave our offices. Essentially, as I mentioned before, There are three broad categories of meetings: beyond needed face-to-face, one-on-one meetings, information sharing, accountability or responsibility reporting, and problem solving. Still, before meeting, folks should ask the following questions. Why do we need to meet? Do we need interaction? Will we merely be telling people what they can read conveniently? Do we need to work together to come up with ideas? Will being together be valuable? Do so many people need to interact with each other? What if we didn't meet? Is this the best use of people's time, recognizing that reducing the number of attendees saves time for everyone attending and not attending? Zero electronic devices except for note-taking. To increase the probability of a meaningful meeting, we should not allow electronic devices in the room except for note-taking. People who are expecting calls should not attend. The rule should be simple: if you are invited to the meeting, we need your complete attention. If you expect someone to contact you during the meeting, we will excuse you from the meeting and meet with those willing and able to be present. To increase the probability of a meaningful meeting, we should not allow electronic devices in the room except for note-taking. People who are expecting calls should not attend. The rule should be simple: if someone invites you to the meeting, they need your complete attention. So, if you expect someone to contact you during the meeting, excuse yourself from the meeting and ask someone else to brief you on the result. Only folks willing and able to be present should attend. Meaningful meetings help firms become more dynamic. These sessions can inspire employees. Every CEO should support them. The converse is true. People getting together with no real aim except to meet, create waste, expense, and crush morale. To be sure, we need many face-to-face meetings because of the need for human interaction. However, we should question whether we need all meetings we plan to hold. Also, we should question the need for meetings others arrange and invite us to attend, always suggesting appropriate alternatives. Facebook's $5 billion fine by the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, for serial privacy abuses doesn't go far enough. After the market received news of the fine, Facebook's market value spiked $10 billion, and Chief Executive Officer, CEO, Mark Zuckerberg's net worth rose $1 billion. Facebook's leaders rejoiced. Why not? Facebook did not agree to wrongdoing, and the market price rose. FTC charged the firm with a crime because it deceived users that users could control the privacy of their personal information. This result was good for Facebook. The firm pays, not an executive or executives. Now they can continue greed-induced policies, unconcerned. A $5 billion fine is not a significant penalty. It's 23% of last year's profit, $22 billion, and less than 10% of revenues. Facebook's $5 billion fine excuses its leaders. Who or what is Facebook? It doesn't walk, talk, or think, so how did it commit this breach? Its senior executives, CEO Mark Zuckerberg, Chief Operating Officer, COO, Sheryl Sandberg and other leaders decided matters. They are the culprits. Thus, the law must hold them accountable, not the shell, the vessel, the inanimate corporation, Facebook. To fine the company and not its executives sends a terrible message that leaders exploit. They get a free pass when their greed and other acts lead to wrongs. And they gain until it's stopped, then the vehicle pays. That's akin to the law giving a drunk driver's car a ticket while exonerating the driver. Supreme Court made corporations people. To fine a company and excuse its leaders is part of a broken system that needs urgent repair. But that repair won't happen because the Supreme Court's 2010 ruling reaffirmed companies as people. I understand the rationale. It is easier to tax, sue, and fine companies than people. It's harder for prosecutors to convict people in companies than their firms. Sometimes, it's hard to prove who committed these crimes. So, it means we must work smarter and harder where evidence shows the firm's widespread misconduct. The law must hold at least the CEO and the board chair to account. The Supreme Court's decision doesn't prevent penalties for executives. It goes beyond the executive's legal liability. But, because it's easier to assign blame to the firm, leaders take dangerous risks and get a free ride when those risks cause crimes. So, leaders abuse people's privacy, commit fraud, collect bonuses and investors pay for the misdeeds. Big Pharma is an excellent example that crime pays. But, their behavior hurt, and sometimes kill people. It must stop. Prosecutors must sue the firm and its leaders. Big Pharma gets away with much. Corporations are not humans, they don't decide. Where a firm harms people with products or services, the law must pursue a person or persons. It's improper to charge the firm alone when the firm did not decide. The board chair, CEO and COO must account. Prosecutors did not accuse or jail one senior executive on Wall Street for the crimes that caused the Great Recession. I am not referring to bad decisions but corrupt practices. Wall Street executives will continue to ruin lives and make huge profits. That's wrong. How can people commit crimes, collect big bonuses, and continue unscathed? Pfizer, Wells Fargo, financial firms before 2008 are poster children for how people commit crimes but pay no penalties. If the law charges firms alone for wrongdoings, company leaders have a natural incentive to accept risks that might even take people's lives. While executives don't design products to kill, they know the vast profit potential from new breakthrough drugs, for instance, with no downside. That's the Pfizer, Big Pharma way. Pfizer's transgressions. Pfizer paid billions for its many misdeeds, yet, no executive got jail time. Several deaths linked to Pfizer's heart valves concerned the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, but that did not stop Pfizer from distributing these valves. It took 300 deaths before Pfizer stopped production. By then, thousands of people had implants. By 1994, Pfizer spent around $200 million to settle related lawsuits. Pfizer's sins continued in the 2000s. In 2009, it agreed to pay a record $2.3 billion to settle criminal and civil liability for illegally promoting certain drugs. American Greed April 7, 2010, featured these crimes. Two of its subsidiaries pleaded guilty to a felony for misbranding Bextra with the intent to defraud or mislead. Pfizer's corrupt practices continued. In 2016 it had two big events. First, it paid $784 million to settle underpaid Medicaid rebate charges. Second, it agreed to pay $486 million to settle a class action securities lawsuit that it misled investors about Celebrex and Bextra's safety. Then in May 2018, it agreed to pay $23.85 million to resolve assertions it infringed the False Claims Act by paying kickbacks to Medicare patients. Pfizer had pricing, safety, marketing and other misdeeds and paid billions in fines. But, its executives escaped jail in each case. Big Pharma fined millions but nobody jailed. The facts show greed and lack of integrity permeate Pfizer and Big Pharma's culture. Can we trust Pfizer or other drug companies? Why does the FDA allow them to put the public at risk with their aggressive and coercive tactics? Do their lobbying activities shield them? The Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America spent $28 million to Pfizer's $11.5 million lobbying Washington in 2018. And Pfizer spent $1 million on Trump's inauguration gig. Are these amounts Pfizer's insurance premiums? It's a disgrace that Big Pharma's crimes hurt so many people while leaders and politicians gain. What will it take for Pfizer and others to behave in an ethical manner? The system condones their behavior. The issue isn't their profit motive. I support firms making profits, but not while lying, cheating, and destroying lives. Wells Fargo fine $1 billion, nobody jailed. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, fined Wells Fargo $1 billion in 2018 for conduct that caused and was likely to cause substantial injury to consumers. Wells Fargo broke the law and hurt its clients. It overcharged mortgage interest rate lock extensions and ran a mandatory insurance program to hike clients' auto loans. The scheme pervaded the firm, so leaders knew. Did they approve it? Or did they ignore it? Either way, a person or persons must pay. But no senior person did, not the CEO or board member. This abuse followed the earlier 2016 one where the CFPB fined $185 million to settle the widespread illegal practice of secretly opening unauthorized deposit and credit card accounts. Again, no person jailed or fined, but they fired lower-level staff. Today, Wells Fargo seeks to rebuild its brand, but some employees see no systemic change. Firms should keep limited liability but hold leaders to account. When we treat firms as people, serious negatives result. First, it stokes leaders' innate greed that's obvious by Big Pharma's actions which hurt the public. They break the law confident the law won't punish them as they pocket hefty bonuses. Second, it drives lobbyists to bribe dishonest politicians to block needed laws to protect the public. Third, district attorneys don't charge CEOs whose support they might need to re-elect them, so they penalize their firms instead. The umbrella effect is people decide, but their firms pay for their conscious decisions that hurt people and the environment. I repeat, I do not refer to bad choices, but illicit ones. Business is an entity that offers services to clients. While employees present these services and goods, they take various risks. That's normal. Business is the only wealth-creating entity in society. We must encourage firms to grow and create jobs. But we should recognize business as a wealth-creating vehicle driven by people. Companies should get no welfare benefits, pay no taxes, and pay fines only when the CEO, board members, or other senior executives do. The firm's fine should send a message to the owners to remove the leadership and get them to return bonus earned for fraudulent activities. We must penalize a person or persons for the firm's illegal acts. Does this idea remove investors' limited liability? No, it sees people in firms who decide and who should go to jail and pay fines for their crimes. Proposals to resolve negative effects of treating firms as people. I support a limited state's role in business and the economy, few but applied rules, and leaders held liable for their illicit acts. Limited liability corporations, LLCs, present status is vital. But leaders decide, and the law must hold them to account for their crimes, not their firms alone. Firms must pay fines for harm to the environment and people. But in every case, a senior person or persons in the firm must pay in money and jail time. After I studied several corporate crimes where only the firm paid a fine, I don't know why leaders avoided jail time. That baffles me. People in those firms saw breaches, and leaders fired whistleblowers. And yet, Pfizer, Big Pharma, Wells Fargo, Facebook's leaders saw their firms fined, and they kept their rewards. They got big bonuses from their decisions until the government stopped them. Sometimes, as Wells Fargo did, leaders blame and fire low-level staff for the harmful results. Facebook's $5 billion fine is a wake-up call. We must hold people accountable for their firm's crimes. Here are summary proposals to do that. 7 steps to fix the problem. Don't break up big tech firms. Politicians want to break up big tech and other large firms. That's a bad idea because it does not consider the real issue. If we split these companies, we will multiply the problem. What is the problem? Unaccountable boards and executives. So, we must enforce existing laws. We must carry out the principle that when we assign collective responsibility to a firm and charge it, we must punish the CEO and board, too. The CEO gets massive rewards for that job, and we must hold him and her to account for the firm's crimes. They get the credit for the boom, so it's only fair they accept the blame. Don't assign blame to companies. That's absurd. Never fine a company alone. A person or persons, the CEO, board, or other senior leaders in the firm committed the wrong. Fine the company only after charging a person or persons. And only to penalize shareholders, who must remove the CEO and others, and recover damages from them. Compel executives to repay bonus from sales of drugs for non-FDA approved purposes and other illicit gain. Leaders would have less reason to push risky drug sales to make short-term gains. Thus, Pfizer's executives should repay the bonus earned from Bextra's massive profits, for instance. Wells Fargo's leaders profited from illegal accounts and other offenses. So, they must repay their bonuses, too. Get rid of corporate taxes and corporate welfare. Firms should pay no taxes on their earnings. Tax people at their marginal rates on income and benefits gained from their firms. So, tax income, dividends, and exercise stock options at the same tax rate. The principle here is to tax people, not the wealth-creating vehicle, the company. Stop former congressmen and women and White House staff from direct lobbying, or indirect lobbying in a law firm, for 10 years after leaving office. Jail people who break this rule. Ban them from presenting and voting on laws that involve people and firms from whom they have or might benefit in cash or kind. Ban advertising of pharmaceutical products unless the headline shows 3 things. FDA approves the drug for the advertised purpose. Side effects with the same prominence as benefits. Current issues linked to the drug. So, For Bextra, state-reported problems. Ask doctors to show in their reception and offices their relation with drug companies. This relationship creates a conflict of interest that can affect drugs doctors dispense. It has in the past. So, let's remove the temptation. Patients must know. Conclusions. It is absurd to fine a company for wrongdoing and not charge a person in the firm. I have been part of several securities class action lawsuits. Companies paid hefty fines for lying, but the CEO, board and others kept their jobs and the law did not fine or jail them. That's not right. Somebody lied, that person must pay. No wonder the public has a wrong opinion of business. Today, the left clamors for socialism and demonize business. They see corrupt executives get away with much and their firms reward them with big bucks. That's not normal. The left doesn't know small firms are the major job creators in the economy. And that Wall Street's greedy rogues' behavior does not reflect these small firms or the majority of firms. The left believes the government is the answer. But, the government is inept, wasteful, and part of the problem. Greedy, dishonest politicians protect rogue executives while they collect substantial campaign funds and bribes. We need to rid business of people who commit crimes. And we need less government involvement in business with proper oversight and effective law enforcement when executives commit crimes. Business drives the economy. It creates jobs while governments destroy jobs with corporate taxes and dumb rules. Stop throwing your money away on marketing that doesn't work. Have you ever wondered why your hard-earned marketing dollars fail to get a great return for you? Have you ever wondered how you might improve your marketing return without spending more money? Do you want to know why most marketing spending is a waste of time, effort and money? Stop wasting your valuable time, effort and hard-earned money on marketing that does not work. Understanding the purpose of marketing is the first step to making your marketing work better for you. By knowing what you are trying to do with your marketing activities and utilization of those limited resources called dollars, you will dramatically improve the return on investment. So, understanding what marketing is all about is fundamental to getting optimum results, and in this article I am going to demonstrate to you just what you need to know. One of the most common mistakes small business owners make is to spend money on the wrong type of marketing. They spend money on something called tactical marketing. That is, how their marketing dollar will be spent. Things such as, should we use AdWords or not? How much should we spend? What keywords should we target? Should we do direct mail or not? Is my website due for an upgrade? In other words, how to spend the advertising dollar as opposed to spending their money firstly on strategic marketing. Strategic marketing is the message they want to send and who to send the message to. In other words, who is our most likely buyer? What are their pain points? What problem do they want solved? What solution do we have that is unique, and what is the decision-making process those prospects are likely to follow? Marketing is about understanding the needs, wants and desires of a market, how those needs, wants and desires are currently being met by competitors in the market, and how you can take advantage of the opportunities that exist in those markets to make a profit. To make the most profit from any market, you want to create a market-dominating position. That is a position that once identified can be communicated to your target audience with a clear understanding that you are the obvious choice for selection to solve their pain points. This is done by focusing your advertising messages clearly to evoke an action from the prospective customer that starts them on the buying journey with you. It is not necessarily a message, in the first instance, to buy now. Unless it is an emergency service that you are offering, your message should be to engage the prospect in the buying journey you would have developed that takes them through the identified buying process you discovered in your research. This could be a process involving a number of logical steps. You must take prospects on that journey. Along the journey you will need to maintain some form of communication and contact with the prospect, and that is one of the reasons why tactical marketing fails. It tends to focus on, do it now actions. Buy now, call now, act now. Most buyers are not ready to do it now. Most buyers, in fact some would say more than 98% of buyers are not ready to buy now. Most buyers are still going along the buying journey. Only as many as 2% of buyers are at the end of that journey and are ready to act now. If only 2% of buyers are ready to buy now and you have focused your marketing activities on tactical marketing, i.e. using AdWords and bidding for keywords that get a lot of attention, then you are targeting 2% of the potential buyers for your product or service. The end results are poor returns and a tendency to blame the medium used for the poor results. AdWords works great when done right. Put another way, tactical marketing means you are financially contributing to the research project of the other 98% of potential buyers who may just end up buying from your competitors. If 98% of buyers today are searching for information, after all we live in the information age, then why would you want to do that and not get to control the rest of the conversation, the education process with those same potential buyers? Strategic marketing on the other hand identifies how to add to the education process, and once a potential buyer engages with you, you want to capture them to be able to control the conversation, with you, away from your competitors. This is what will provide you with the greatest return for your dollar. This is what will turn your business into a profit-making machine. Focus on strategic marketing activities first. Get your messages right before you spend your hard-earned dollars making advertising platform owners rich. Let other competitors flounder around educating your prospects, but only until you decide to engage them in your conversation. Then keep them under control and watch the results grow. David is an experienced business coach, marketer and entrepreneur with a passion for helping people realize financial independence through structured learning. Author of the book Wages to Wealth. 11 Steps to Turn Your Wages into the Life You Want to Live. David is able to share his knowledge and skills with people of all ages from 8 to 80 and can be contacted anytime by visiting http://www.davidnolan.com to learn how you can improve your financial well-being. Many of you may not know what is the difference between multi-stage pumps and single-stage pumps. The basic difference between the two is the impellers and how they are being used in their operation. Multi-stage pumps have 2 or more impellers rotating or circulating near the shaft, unlike a single-stage pump. Zululand Pump Company Limited provides various options in the area of multi-stage mine pumps, horizontal multi-stage stainless steel pumps, horizontal multi-stage oil pumps, horizontal multi-stage seawater pumps, multi-stage oil pumps, vertical multi-stage inline pumps, and multi-stage centrifugal pumps. The first 2 pumps are quite similar in their features and efficiency. Both the pumps are self-balanced. Both have a capacity of 6.3 to 1,100 cubic meters and a working pressure of 7.5 180 bar. The first pump has applications in water drainage and water supply for factories, cities, or mines. The second one is used for underground drainage and mine drainage, which is capable of handling ore water. The horizontal multi-stage stainless steel pump has the same capacity and working pressure as previous ones. The pump is designed for handling corrosive liquid which doesn't contain any solid particles, and the temperature range is -20 to 105 degrees in Celsius. The properties like driven mode and sealing, pump material, proportion, concentration can be chosen by the user according to the property of the liquid. The application of this pump is in conveying corrosive liquid for industries like the oil chemical industry, coal chemical industry, chemical plants, and chemical processing. It has another model that has a pressure range of 1.7 to 100 bar and capacity 6.3 to 850 cubic meter. The horizontal multi-stage oil pump is also self-balancing in nature. This pump is designed for transferring oil products or oil without any solid particles, with a viscosity lower than 120 centipoise. The temperature range should be between -20 to 210 degrees in Celsius. The basic application of the pump is petroleum and oil liquid handling for industries like chemical processing. The horizontal multi-stage seawater pump is also facilitated with a self-balance system. This pump is made for delivering liquids that are corrosive like brine, seawater, and other liquids with the help of stainless steel. The limitation of temperature should lie between -20 to 105 degrees in Celsius. The major application of this pump is in seawater, construction, and destination plant. It has 12 impellers in its structure. The multi-stage mine pump has a balance disc and is generally used for underground mine drainage. It has 3 impellers built inside it. It usually handles water like liquids are water, but can also handle liquids like oil, abrasive or corrosive build by providing a change of pump material, pressure or seal of the cooling system. The working temperature of the pump is from 0 to 80 degrees in Celsius. The vertical stainless steel multi-stage pump, as the name suggests is vertical in shape. The motor in this pump is in direct connection with the pump through the shaft. It has 20 impellers which are made of stainless steel. It has a smooth surface, and hydraulic loss of flow is small in amount. It is easy to clean, which helps to convey a pure medium. It has a wide variety of applications like water supply, industrial pressurization, industrial liquid transportation, and water treatment. It is also used in various irrigation methods like sprinkler or drip irrigation. It gives stable performance and its small size makes it easy to transport. One more pump in the vertical category is the vertical multi-stage inline pump. It has 7 impellers inside of it. It uses a hydraulic model that is advanced and utilizes stainless steel as a pump shell. This pump is preferred to transport hot and cold water or any other water like liquid in every major industry. Some of the applications are: it circulates both hot and cold pure water in a system of high pressure. It supplies water with pumps in high buildings in parallel. It is used in firefighting, water supplies, and transportation of a variety of rinsing liquids. Multi-stage oil pump has 7 impellers and has applications in conveying petroleum and oil for chemical industries, while multi-stage centrifugal pump has rather wider applications. It is used for water supply, long-distance deliveries, discharge in mines, high-rise buildings and mines, and cyclic pressurization in process of production. It has 3 impellers. These are some of the pumps described which could prove to be useful while buying a pump. You can choose the multi-stage pump according to the need and its application. The high quality and efficient service of the company ensure you to have a good customer experience. For many of us today, our workplace has changed considerably. Not just the location but the environment. Some of us sit at kitchen tables to work, some of us sit at a table in our bedrooms, and some of us, who are the lucky ones, have an actual office in our homes. For me, the workplace and the environment has been the same for over 20 years. I am what used to be considered a remote worker or telecommuter, having spent approximately 5 years in a corporate environment as a remote project manager and trainer and 15 years self-employed as a recruiter, training designer and facilitator, working from home. So, for me, the current workplace environment is not new. I enjoy working from a home office, although as I recall, it took some time for me, and the others in my home, to adjust. And communication was difficult. I recall several communication challenges, not the least of which was the major construction project going on outside my window. The noise was incredible. To communicate with others, over the telephone, or on conference calls, I had to get into my car, drive to a local park and join conference calls on my cell phone. Try following a PowerPoint presentation with no access to Zoom or its equivalent. Remote work can surface a variety of communication challenges, not just with the medium, but with the words and tone we use when we are communicating over the phone. Even video calls are challenging because it is difficult to read expressions and body language. And it is difficult to listen, particularly when the entire team is on the call. Listening is a skill requiring constant work. How do you ensure active participation on the part of all those receiving the message? How do you ensure they are listening to what is being communicated? What is your measure for ensuring they hear and understand the message? How we listen. There are 5 different types of listening, according to Future Ready leadership programs offered by Mohawk College Enterprise, MCE. In these programs, the emphasis is on leaders' ability to communicate with their teams by being effective listeners. They identify the different types of listening as pretend, selective, active, reflective, and empathetic. Ever find your mind wandering off topic during conference calls or online meetings? Ever find yourself thinking about what to make for dinner tonight or how best to help your kids with their latest online assignment instead of the business topic being discussed or the issue being raised by a team member? If so, then you are pretend listening. You may be demonstrating the right body language with nodding and murmurs of assent, but your mind is elsewhere. This happens to all of us and, although it should be discouraged, we acknowledge that sometimes we just need to daydream. Selective listening is disruptive because we are hearing what we want to hear, interpreting what we hear in terms of our opinions, views, and attitudes about the topic rather than taking in the intent of the speaker. Simone Lawrence, of the Canadian Football League Hamilton Tickets says, real communication is not always about what's said but is always about what's heard. The listening may hear specific words and phrases differently than the speaker intended, which may lead to misinformation, mistakes, incorrect assumptions, and decisions, and even worse, relationships being negatively affected. Think about the current phrase defunding the police. What do we hear when we hear the word defunding? Some of us hear disbanding or dismantling the current policing structure and system, others hear reducing the police budget, and still others hear redistributing the police budget to better reflect needs of the community. What is the intent of those asking for defunding of the police? What are we hearing from this request? How we hear. Active, reflective, and empathetic listening are interactive in nature. These forms of listening require active participation by both the sender and the receiver, with feedback between the two parties. Participation is the act of being clear about the message being sent, and the receiver responding correctly and appropriately. Empathetic listening is regarded as the best form, as it is about paying attention, listening with insight and compassion. Even though we may understand and appreciate the concept of empathetic listening, it is difficult to continually apply. The challenge is how we perceive the world. Our perceptions may be coloring our ability to listen effectively. In her book, Dare to Lead, Brené Brown tells us these perceptions, or lenses through which we view the world, are soldered to who we are. That's a challenge if you were raised in the majority culture, white, straight, male, middle class, and you were likely taught that your perspective is the correct perspective and everyone else needs to adjust their lens. The key to empathetic listening is being able to learn from others, being able to adjust our lens by asking for, and thoughtfully considering, their input and feedback. We need to give them the opportunity to share their thoughts and feelings, ask questions to clarify our understanding, and discover what they want to see change. With this clarity of communication, we are then able to measure how effectively we respond. Communication is a dynamic process, one that considers the message not only in terms of content, words, and tone, but in how it will be delivered most effectively. With effective communication, no matter our workplace or our environment, we work to connect with others by recognizing the intent of their message, adjusting our perception, and ensuring clear. Invoicing is often dismissed as a mundane task that need not be done with full attention. That is true, but it is an important part of the business that is essential to maintain a positive cash flow. As a business owner, you must realize that your duty does not end with just sending an invoice. Automation of various tasks with the usage of online accounting software will take a load of your back and help you manage invoices in the most productive way. To make sure you get your money on time, here are a few things that must be avoided. 1. Procrastination. As a business owner, it can get awfully difficult to manage so many various tasks on time. It is not uncommon for a small task such as invoicing to slip your mind, or you may think that a regular client or customer will make the payment anyway and push the task ahead. But you need to remember that invoicing is your responsibility. One must make it a priority and send an invoice as soon as the job is complete. According to a survey, when you invoice on the same day of the work completion, you are 1.5 times more likely to get paid on time. 2. Pending invoices. Now that you have made a priority to send invoices, it is also very much possible that the client misses their due date, misplaces the invoice, or simply forgets about it. You and your team have to take responsibility to get paid on time, so be proactive in sending reminders and contact the client immediately if they miss their payment date. In a rare case where you are dealing with a terribly unresponsive client, extreme measures can be taken. A case can be filed in small claims court, or if matters get worse, you can hire a collection agency to get your payment. 3. Undefined terms. Business dealings must always have clearly specified conditions which come in use, in case of any discrepancies. Never use vague language in an invoice, specify your terms and resulting consequences if those terms aren't met. But do not define lengthy and unrealistic terms that can hamper business relations. To create an ideal situation, sign a simple contract with your clients that will protect the interests of both parties. Bring this into practice and you will ease up a lot of your workload. Ask your lawyers to record your agreement and make it official. 4. Details that matter. Precise attention must be given to details so that small mistakes are avoided. Check with your client on whom to send the invoice and draft the mail accordingly. Billing a different individual or department can create a lot of miscommunication and waste your precious time. An invoice must always contain these details: legal company name, office address and contact number, client name and address, invoice number and date, payment due date, tax number or license numbers, as per government demands, terms of payment, list of products or services, total amount to be paid. 5. Data backups. In this age of technology, it seems unwise not to take advantage of it. Create regular backups of your receipts on the cloud, so that you have a soft copy to refer to, even if you lose the hard copy. Use applications like QuickBooks Cloud to keep track of your data and enable remote access to your finance reports. 6. Branding and format. Research has shown that invoices are 3 times more likely to get paid if there are a proper company logo and name mentioned. These small things show that you are professionals and it creates your executive image over the others. Also, the same goes with poor editing and format of the invoice. Spelling mistakes, incorrect amount, incomprehensible fonts, all these mistakes must not be made. Double check your invoices before sending them. 7. Flexibility and payments. You have set up your payment terms, well done. But being a businessman does not mean that you need to be harsh over rules. Sticking to them is important, but every now and then, you can offer a bit of wiggle room, on client's request. In terms of payments, you must offer options for safe payment methods for the convenience of your client, and efficient workflow for both you and them. 8. Manners. Being polite is the most important thing to run a successful business. Adding a please and thank you to your tone, emails, and even invoices can increase your chances of getting paid by 5%. This will also boost your brand image. With the rapid technological advances and its integration in the accounting industry, usage of sophisticated application like cloud-based QuickBooks helps profusely. It streamlines the workflow and helps keep track of incoming and outgoing cash. Keep these points in mind to get your payment on time from clients. Tina Smith is an accountant with Sage Next Infotech. She is having expertise in project management, accounting operations. With Sage Next, she consults the client accountants about the benefits of QuickBooks hosting. Sage Next is a leading tax and like cloud-based QuickBooks, Sage clarity and comprehension about what is being heard.